So here I have a Sea-Doo gauge here with the speedometer and the RPM, and it has the gauge and stuff in here. Probably has like an LCD. Has the setting buttons. And what's happening here is when the speedo and fuel gauge do not work, all other accessories run through the cluster work. It could be a possible break on connection 12 or 11. So we do have the connector, and it looks like similar to the connector that goes on your car vehicle. But this goes to the Ski-Doo. So we're not 100% sure what's wrong with this. We do have some schematics. So, and it's intermittent as well. So we have 12 volts ground. Okay, pin 12. And there's a fuse. Oh yeah, anyways. So let's open this thing up. Okay. Oh, we get a screwdriver. Yeah, it's that time of year again. It's more like winter. We had a good snow, so there'll be more ski-dooing and snowmobiling. I don't know if you've done that before. Growing up on the farm, I used to have this really old Ski-Doo. I think my dad bought it for like $100 or something, and we fixed it. That's how I learned mechanics and stuff, is fixing the snowmobiles and head gaskets and piston rings and all that stuff. That's how you learn. You learn by taking things apart, right? So I fixed the ATV. It was shorting out, my dad's ATV, and I think it was just a wiring. It was a wiring to the battery. Because they use quite a bit of voltage to start, right? A lot of current, I should say. And so after I fixed that connection, it worked. Okay. So this is a little bit tricky to open. Has these plastic clips. To be honest, I don't like clipless devices. I like screwing because I don't know. I'm old school that way. Okay, it's starting to come. There's a clip on the front. There we go. It's coming. Okay, now we'll just take it off slowly here. You can see the gasket there. Anyways. So, let's look at all the goodies we got in here. We have looks like our main processor. There's an LED that goes on this tube. We have some capacitors. There's nothing corroded Now, I'm just going to move these pins and see if there's a bad solder connection. Intermittent problem. I think I'm gonna have to look at the scope. I'm gonna use the scope and I'll just check out these guys. Okay. So let's do that. We'll move over to the scope now. So here I have the board on the main scope, and this is the main connector, and we can just kind of go through here, and as we wiggle these pins, sometimes you can have bad connections. Okay, so I'm just looking at the chip to see if I can find anything. Well, it doesn't look too bad. So yeah, that's the main connector there. You'll have a chip that processes the display. So this is the display chip, and so we don't have a problem with the display because it is displaying, and you can see that this goes to the LCD. These lines here go to the LCD panel, but we're having more of an issue down. This is the main processor. The main processor doesn't look too bad. Nothing out of the ordinary. I don't see anything burnt. So let's try out these. Either this is a capacitor or it's a diode there. So I just have it in diode mode here. And you can see the little line there is negative. So let's just test out this. This is actually a capacitor. Okay. That's okay. This is a diode. It has a D for diode, and this is measuring continuity. And we're good. This way and that. Then that's open, so that's fine. Let's intermittent. Let's check the capacitors. Okay. Seems to be okay. Let's check out these bad guys here. Nothing's shortened. Nothing's low ohms or anything. It seems to be okay. 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 And then we'll test this guy out, and he's good. Okay. Voltage regulators. Let's try to test out these chips here. Because you could have like some fluctuating voltage. Either this is a MOSFET or it's a 3.3 volt regulator. Okay, I'm gonna look at the schematic so we can get a better idea what's going on here. So I'm going to use my soldering iron, and I'll just solder up the main connectors. I'm almost certain that they're not the problem, but you never know. Sometimes we can have these micro cracks. And so you might as well, right? Might as well just solder up these joints. Doesn't take too much time. And even just heating up the solder that is there can help. Because I've seen before where, like, when you're fixing things, sometimes things need to be reflowed, you know what I mean? Because that crack, intermittent stuff is usually a bad connection somewhere. So what I would suggest is unplugging like all the connectors, because this is just the display. I don't think it is the display issue. I don't think there's a problem with this display board. My guess is the issue is to do with a connector or a sensor that is going to this this board. Okay, so I think even if you, I could be wrong. Can't quote me on this or anything like that, but I think it's a connection to this board. Like this is like, I guess, has a processor and does the different sensing and stuff like that. But yeah. Just reflowing the connectors. I got this good scope. It's a Eakins scope. Not an Eakins. It's like a knockoff of Eakins, I think. I don't know. I guess it's Eakins. Yeah, it's Eakins. There's like a AM scope or whatever. And I really like it. I got it from AliExpress from China. And it was like 250 bucks. And it's pretty clear. Like I don't even have like a light on the board right now, but it can like zoom and really see, because right now these pins are like, oh, I saw that pin move. You saw that pin move? Been a bad pin there. So there's all the pins resoldered. Okay. I don't know. Let's try to test out, I guess, some of these capacitors. It's really hard to, you can like only with a capacitor you can't really tell if they're good or bad unless you have like a special tester. Like when they're in circuit, the capacitance won't be exact because they're in like parallel and circuit series and stuff like that, and they don't bulge, these surface mounts, but I doubt that's the issue. So this is a resistor here, and it's really low ohms, so you'll get like a short basically. You're gonna get a short on these ones, which it should be. Sometimes they use resistors for protection and also for jumping. You can see that there's a trace and then it jumps and stuff like that. But The gray ones are usually inductors and with the L, and inductors will read as a short. But sometimes there's this wax on top of the things right here, because see this shiny stuff, that's like they put this coating on, so you'd be like, oh, it's not measuring a short or whatever. That's because there's this uh, layer that protects it from like rust and stuff like that. And I'm reading a short there, so that's fine. All right. So there's nothing obviously burnt or anything like that. And intermittent issues are the hardest to detect and find what the problem is. It's because it's sometimes it works. It means it could be like a failing component in a haystack of hundreds of components. So let me try to get the voltage on here. A shout out to the owner of this device. They even printed off this schematic diagram of the skidoo. So great. We have like the battery connector here, and then shows you all the fusing. And right now we're on this circuit right here. It's the display board and that. But we do have some inputs that come to the control module probably. But see all these connectors right here? What I would suggest is like disconnecting any kind of connector and using some of this electrical contact. Okay, this has helped me before. You can get it from Canadian Tire, and it just sometimes there's like corrosion on the sensor. So this is a relay switch. You can't disconnect that, but there will be these kind of plugs, just like how there's a plug here that goes into here. Is this spray those contacts? It could be the actual wire that goes to your board here. Okay, so I don't have those cables, but those cables could have a bad connection when they're connecting into the different things. So that's my only other suggestion, is just disconnecting any kind of big cable that goes into your modules here. You can see the connector there, and making sure that you use some contact spray should be and then hopefully that will fix your problem. Yeah, so anyways, here's the diagram. I'm gonna actually put the voltage, and then I'll also test that out, because we do have 12 volts. Okay, that goes to pin 7, and then ground, there's a fuse that goes to 12. So let me do that. So the two bottom pins here are ground, and we'll do pins 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here, I'll just. And you can see that it's turning on. It's not, there's no gauges connected, but the display's working. That means that your CPU is fine, displaying temperature, all that stuff here. Yeah, so this board looks fine. No issues there. It's lighting up, displaying. looks good. So I don't think I wouldn't buy this whole module yet. Okay, I would still try to isolate the problem, unless you have a spare one that you can easily swap. But I don't think that that's the case. So what I would do is use contact spray for these sensors. So the vehicle speed sensor, also the air condition suspension module. You have to check these wires, these cables. They're quite long, and it goes to that device there. You just try to spray in the contacts there and just plug it in. It could be okay, and then kind of like twist the wires. And any of these plugs to your different devices, these guys right here, because I had the same issue on my ABS controller on my car, and it was just basically a wiring issue. Okay, because devices usually don't fail unless there's a short, right? But if it's intermittent, what happens is you go, you know, these wires move and whatever. Okay, so this module, she's working. There's no shorts on the capacitors or whatnot. The CPU, the display chip is working. We're getting the display. The CPU chip is working as well. It's not detecting the sensors or anything like that. There isn't any error code. The lights are going. So, and from physical inspection of it, it looks fine there. So yeah, I would just check out the connections. If the connections are good, then I guess, yeah, last resort, you could try to change this, but then, you know, that's going to cost money. So that's all I can do for now for this device here. When you use this, just check out those connections. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next repair video, and yeah, if you have some nice schematics and things, send them over. We'll have a look.